everybody, this is Alchemist 2 and I'm back again with another book review. This is a book written by Alexis Mary Pietzak and it's called Life is Energy, Opening the Mind to a New Science of Life. And honestly, a lot of the verbiage that was used in this book went a little bit over my head, to be quite honest with you. I love the book. I love the fact that she describes just different patterns in leaves and how energy itself shouldn't be differentiated between wave and particle, and that sort of viewpoint is antiquated in a way. And she talks about just the cycle of life and energy and heat, and it's a very complicated book, but I absolutely loved it because I thought it was extremely insightful. And there are 7 chapters here. Goes through the oceans of our thought. Just the 3 isms, she talks about that, and the life sciences from vitalism to vivisection, life and things living. Physics, it's called rational imagination, I do believe she said it was. Swim in an ocean of thoughts, that's chapter 3. 4 is walk in the mind garden. Chapter 5 is organic mechanics. Chapter 6 is a seed for a new ecology. And 7 is harmoniously human. And one thing I learned in this book is there's another word for carrion eaters. They're called detrivores, and I had never heard that used before. I thought, ooh, I have a new word in my vocabulary. But they're also known as decomposers. I had learned that in anthropology class. It always comes back to anthropology. But it's just a really fascinating book. And my favorite chapter is when she speaks of how leaves are arranged, and she goes into depth about the the different variations thereof, like blade and rotator and fishbone, and how fractal patterns are very common. And it's kind of above my comprehension, I will admit to that, because I'm reading this and I'm thinking, I don't know if I understand this. I probably don't. But she has, thank God, she has a glossary. Algorithm, I understand that. Amplitude. Pertaining to a periodic function is the maximum displacement from a reference level in either a positive or negative direction. Okay, auxin. She talks about auxin. It's a protein that plant hormones create in order to make veins. And I thought, well, all cells, before they differentiate into other systems, are totipotent. So it's nice that she begins with the example of leaves, because that's the basic illustration. And it makes things more comprehensible. But like I said, there are a lot of things that are very, very complex in this book, but I absolutely loved it. But I'm sure that I could give it to somebody who is a physicist, and they'll probably laugh at me saying, hey, you don't understand this. I'm like, no, I don't, and neither do you, because this is all theory and postulation. But still, you're coming to a lot of different deeper understanding of nature due to rational imagination. So this is a very brave new world in which we live. Sorry, I don't know what got caught in my throat there. There's some other terms here. Conceptual metaphor, of course, that refers to language. Coordinate, number specifying the position of a point relative to certain other lines. She talks about there's a plane that she mentioned. I can't remember the plane in and of itself. Exergy. Oh, I like this. Entropy. I know that entropy is a disorganization or possibility. emergent heat, sources of energy, nutrients, or conditions which are conducive to the growth and development of living systems. Sources of emergent heat are relevant to the needs of specific systems. And it seems like everything in what we see in our life has an order and a design. And I love design. It's incredible. Harmonics, my favorite thing. Vibrating objects usually have a main fundamental frequency. This fundamental frequency has associated with it a series of other frequencies which are integer multiples of the fundamental called harmonics. I adore harmonics. I don't know why, but harmonics is something I completely understand due to the fact that I am a musician. Holon, something which is simultaneously a self-autonomous entity and part of a larger whole. Holons are very intriguing. And holonarchy, hierarchy made up of holons. Let's see. What else does she talk? I'm going to get to the chapter I really like here. And she talks about leaves. I like her sense of humor. It's hard to do it with one hand. Don't take that out of context, please. Okay. Morphogenic field system for leaves. I'm going to go ahead and read it because she can explain it better than I can. Let's suppose that for every leaf pattern there is a morphogenetic field with an appropriate structure that emerges from complex processes inherent in the developing organism. This field guides the specialization of cells in space and time to generate a long-range pattern. Let's see if we can elaborate on the concept of morphogenetic fields to the amount for vascular patterns of a great number of leaf types. There are myriads of different leaf patterns in existence, with some examples shown in Figure 512, which is right there. However, in the great diversity of patterns can be seen to stem from variation of four primary organizations. Of course, I forgot about needle, blade. I forgot about needle and blade. Needle, blade, fishbone, and rotator. Therefore, four general types of morphogenetic field are required to account for each of these general leaf types. Variations in the parameters of each general type of field would be able to describe the form of all pattern variations within a particular pattern class. We will base all four types of morphogenetic fields on the geometry of a circular zone with two poles and a central axis as previously described. And a description of each leaf types are proposed in the morphogenetic fields. As shown in Figure 517. Right. And she therefore deliberates on needle, blade, fishbone, and rotator. And then she says, for each of these general types, a number of variations are possible by changing the descriptive parameters of the field type. These variations lead to a great number of leaf patterns that we observe in the world today. See, she's very astute. And she talks about raspberry bushes and grapevines, maples. I love this. This is so funny. Plant architecture. The complexity number. Intuitively, we observe that a tree has more structural complexity than a bush more than a basic plant more than a moss, and a moss more than an algae. This is because each category indicates the existence of an additional hierarchical level of organization. See, she's very good at explaining things. Still, some of this is a little bit so high grade, so heady. Let's see. She's just talking about wave states, morphogenetic wave states. Imaginative rationality is in contrast to the dissecting material literalism characterizing the thinking style monopoly of reductionism, mechanism, and materialism which pervade the life sciences. We've considered the older notions such that as life of energy and of the influential field in biological development have congruency with various pertinent observations of living things, and thus can be considered befitting conceptual metaphors worthy of further investigation and development. And it goes into further detail on that. Talks about quantum mechanics, wave states, and morphogenetics. Yeah, it just talks about progressing from low to high energy. Emergent energy is really, really interesting, and this is very revolutionary as well. And she talks about frequencies and waves and and differences between the two. Yeah, and there are nice charts, and she has great illustrations of that. Even though it's a very short book, it's complex. It's very rife and dense. And for me, I love biology, and physics, but reading this book almost made my brain hurt quite a few times. But I love the humor in it, and just I found myself laughing more often than not. And I thought, why am I laughing? Nobody else is gonna laugh at a book like this, but I did. It's just, I love it. It was tickling my head, so maybe I have a propensity toward, I don't know, but let me just say, I don't understand physics. I love it to death, but it is far too complex for me to wrap my finite, tiny mind around. Still, very well written book, and well worth looking into if you are fascinated by life sciences like myself and just want to understand the world on a grander scale. And she proposes some really good ideas that maybe will help us combat the issues of climate change and climate change and global warming. And we could all use that information about right now, I think. Well, I have an update. My update is I'm not going to be going to North Carolina until Labor Day weekend because I don't know how to pre-plan. But I'm still learning. I'm growing, and in the future, I'm going to still be going to Full Sail like I promised, and hopefully that will be the boost I need for the channel to actually do well. And we shall see. So until next, well, I get to go to Gen Con as well, and they might be Giants or playing, and I'm super excited because they're one of my favorite bands of all time, and I've always wanted to see them in concert. So yay, one thing off my bucket list. I'm almost geeking out about it, but yeah, it's gonna rock. It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be the most epic night in my life. But until then, live long and prosper. Ciao tutti.